So I thought this could also be a good opportunity to dive a little bit deeper into the sound effects exercise and implement the whole asset into a middleware. So I prepared this Wwise project and imported all the sound assets into it. So before breaking it down, just starting with a little disclaimer, just for the sake of this demonstration, I based all my implementation decisions in personal assumptions on how the game code would work. So all of these ideas, they would change depending on the technical choices of the dev team. So again, everything here, it's based on personal understandings on how the general functionality of the game works. So to start the breakdown of this Wwise session, first I implemented the magic power, and to do that I broke it in two containers. The first half is the charging and the second half is the release. So the charging, I just imported a couple of variations inside of this random container, and the release, considering that the player can release its powers against an enemy or a gun, and I would imagine many types of guns, I chose a switch container. So the variations will be triggered by it, and they will change depending on the object the player is using the powers against. So if it's a gun pull, I put the sound assets inside of this sequence container. And if it's an enemy, we have this random container to play whatever variations we have inside. So let me check here if it's an enemy. Let's see if we play it. Yes. Okay. And to sequence both of them, I chose a blend container. And the reason I did it, it's because I needed to make sure the timing could be driven by a parameter, because what I first imagined was having the player holding the button while charging the power, and as soon as the player releases the button, the parameter will be driven to somewhere between 0.9 and 1. So it could this parameter could be a float or a Boolean value coming out from the engine. So let's say while the player is holding the button, it would be sitting here, and when if it's 100% completed, so the game engine would shoot the value of whatever, like 0.95 or 1, and then the parameter would fire the second portion of the sound. So let's check it out. So that was the enemy, in case if it's a rifle. And so let's say in case the attack is cancelled while it's being called, we'll still have a little bit of a tail. The final part of the sound effect happens when an enemy is the target of the power and the force field is open, which triggers a loop. And the same wouldn't happen if a gun is the object, is the target of the power, right? Otherwise it would just play a one-shot sound. But here we have the loop that it's going to be triggered whenever this this force field is open. So the loop is played by the event that would trigger this sequence container. So within the sequence container, we have the loop leading container, and followed by the levitation loop. That's where the loop will be sitting. The stop event, whenever the force field is shut, the stop event would then trigger the lead out container. The reason I implemented this portion of the sound, the loop, in a separate container, it's for so I could put some positioning, some attenuation parameters inside of it. So here we have some values that I could write that will be triggered depending on the distance the player would be from the sound field. So let's quickly playing the loop here. So of course all of these values would need to be tweaked on a debugging session here on the profiler of Wwise, but we could say it would be basically all of these 4 values here: low pass, high pass filter, spread, and focus are more than enough. Just stop the event here. I also used a meter plugin here inside the Magic Power. So in order to do a sort of a sidechain compression mix to the sound effects, that way the loop would duck down whenever the Magic Power is played, which would clean up a little bit the mix. So we have here the Wwise meter plugin inside the Magic Power. That's where the charging and the release sounds are sitting. And on the loop magic container, I could control the voice volume or a high pass filter, depending on the volume of the magic power. So let's give it a check. So that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this brief showcase of sound design and sound design implementation. Yeah, and I hope you have a great weekend. Bye-bye.